Oh, welcome back to another episode of Ladies Kicking Ass. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I don't normally have people in the same screen with me, so this is a lot of fun. I've been trying to harass my husband into doing this for a while, and so I just put it on his calendar for him today. And today is a very special day for us because 5 years ago today, we went on our first date. So we call this our date-a-versary. So it's our 5-year date-a-versary. We both were part of a little app called Tinder. Good things come from Tinder.
Excellent things.
Excellent things. So every year on our date-a-versary, we go back and recreate our first date. So just a little inspiration for you if you're listening or watching this. Think about when you went on your first date with your spouse or your significant other and make sure that you're celebrating that day. Because if it wasn't for that day, look at how much shit wouldn't have happened in your life. And that is so cool to think about. So my guest today is Jake Wilson. He is my husband, and we do pretty much everything in life together. We actually work together in the septic business, and we have 5 kids between us. And so we are busy as hell all the time. So we think it would be really fun to get together to do these podcasts and just kind of get you thinking. Even if you're just a lady listening to this, listen to it with your husband or watch it with your husband. Today, we're going to kind of just do an introduction as to who we are to you guys. You might get a little different perspective of me than what you usually get. And I want you to get to know Jake and get to know kind of our relationship and the love and fun that we have for each other, and encourage you to go home and use these questions in asking your spouse or come up with your own set of questions and have that special reserve a date night if you don't have one. And if you don't have one, you should put it on your calendar every week because your marriage deserves that time. But talk to them about these questions, see what they say, because I think it's so cool that we live together in a house and many of us don't know the most intimate parts of each other. So today's going to be fun. So, Jake, tell us, who is Jake Wilson?
Well, I am Jake Wilson. You want the lowdown from my birth, or
I just want you, when someone says, this has been a very interesting question lately on the podcast, when I say, don't tell me about your work or your experiences, who are you? Who are you?
I am first and foremost a father and a husband. I have 3 birth children that are my DNA, and then we have your 2 kids. So we have 5 kids between the 2 of us, which is a bundle of fun. Um, I grew up in Arizona, and my background is in insurance and aviation, actually, and construction. So I have been around the trades as well as a diversified education, if you will. I am um, number 4 of 5 of my siblings. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and all but one of which live here in Arizona with us, or not with us, but in the same vicinity as us. And I have a brother that lives out in Texas. So it's a lot of fun where we're
When you say it's a lot of fun where we're at,
at.
where are we at?
Well, in Arizona, it's sunshine. We don't have to deal with snow or adverse weather, flooding, hurricanes,
Just
tornadoes.
120 degrees weather.
Yeah, well, right now it's fun
Yeah, right now
until
it's
July.
nice. It's top off weather, not on the car. I mean. So this is a really interesting question, and it's interesting to listen to you explain that because most all the time when I say, "Who are you?" everyone defaults to their work. So ask your spouse that question tonight, or ask your significant other and say, don't talk to me about your work history, but who are you? And see what they say, because I think it's very interesting what everyone's perspective of themselves is. Because you may think, oh, he thinks or she thinks that they are bleh. But internally, that person, your partner, may really have something else that they've latched onto as an identity. So it's really cool to kind of see how they tick, right?
Yeah. Don't define yourself by your work.
No, because your value is not tied to how much you get done during the day. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. It's not tied to the checks on the checklist. So, in celebration of today and our 5 years of knowing each other, what has been one of your, this is not one of my 3 questions, by the way, what has been one of your favorite times that we've spent together?
One of my favorite times that we spent together. I liked when you surprised me with the for my birthday a couple years ago, and took me out to Las Vegas for my birthday. That was full of adventure and fun. You surprised me with a rented convertible Mustang
It was
that we
fast.
drove. No, we drove very slow, the speed limit the whole time,
No, we didn't. No.
and did not get into any trouble whatsoever. Of
That
course.
might have been a criminal speeding ticket.
Uh, so I think that was one of the most fun times. But I think we share a lot of fun times that we do with each other.
So, something that's really important to us, we made a commitment when we got married. Well, even before we got married, we were doing this. That every Saturday night is reserved for us. And we have 5 kids. So when people say, "Oh, it must be nice to go on date nights, we have all these kids." If you want to make it a priority, you'll figure out what to do with your 5 kids. Thank goodness now finally they're old enough, our daughters are, that they can be the babysitters, but they weren't when we first started doing this. And you know what? You'll probably go through a bunch of babysitters because we definitely did, depending upon what mood some of the little ones were in sometimes. But definitely make that a priority so that one, your spouse knows that you are setting aside time for them to do this special event, and then be present while you're doing that. A lot of people that's listening to this may actually work with their spouse, and we have to correct each other often during date nights when one of us goes off on a tangent and starts talking about work, that we can't talk about work. We're out there to get to know and reconnect with each other, and that is not through what we do to get money every day. What do you like about date nights?
I like to have one-on-one time with you. I feel like that there throughout the week we jockey our time between kids' activities, the kids themselves, the attention that we give to them, as well as the attention that we give to our work on a daily basis. So I think that being able to be out one on one helps decompress all of the day to day tasks and activities that we have.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, I feel like we're kind of in this spot. Sometimes you can get into going on dates ruts. Like, oh, we just go to the same restaurant, we have dinner, and then we go have a drink, and then we go home. Like I think we should commit to going somewhere new every time on Saturday, because then we go find new places. We love to explore and find like different really good mom and pop type restaurants or really cool locations to go do things. And even if you live in a small town and you're listening to this, sky's the limit there. I grew up in Wyoming. And at date night, I think often like, I wish we were in Wyoming because I think we could do X. And they had no cool restaurants and no nothing to do. So it's a matter of being creative and really setting that time aside for each other. I think it's so cool.
Does this mean that you're going to be willing to go to a sushi restaurant with me?
No, because we've already been to sushi, so that's not doing
It's been
something new.
years, years.
Last time I went there, he gave me sake bombers, so that was pretty much the end of the night.
That was just the beginning.
Okay, should we jump into our questions?
Sure.
I just typed mine out so I didn't forget what they
Are
were.
you going to ask me first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we going to do one question for one question, or are you going to ask me all yours on the same thing?
No, we'll switch off.
Okay.
Okay. So my first question is, who has been the most influential person in your life, and how has that person impacted you?
Oh, influential. By the way, these are all, we didn't prep with these questions at all. So everything that she's going to ask me and everything I'm going to ask her are surprise questions.
True.
So I think the most influential person in my life, it does have to be somebody I know personally.
Well, somebody that had to influence you. So
Well,
no.
I think that to your credit, introducing me into the world of the Tony Robbins stuff, I believe that's who I would say is the most influential person because I have gained so much growth personally and with work. And when I say personally, I mean like as a individual and as a father and as a husband, based on the things that we've been going through with that program. So I'd definitely say Mr. Anthony Robbins himself.
Well, that's a good one.
I
That's a
know.
good
I
one.
know. Who's your most influential person?
Hmm. There's so many. Honestly, the most influential person to me was my grandma, for sure. I love personal development. I'm all over that, and we do it all the time. But the person that left the biggest imprint on me was my grandma, and I always get emotional because she passed away like a year and a half ago, and I just miss her terribly. But one of the biggest things that she did for me was that she taught me that it's so incredibly important to make people feel special and to serve people. My grandma served so many people through her church, just through her community. She was always reaching out, wanting to help. Even in the times when she was the one that needed to be helped, she was still wanting to help everybody else. And I loved that so much about her. And she always made everybody feel like they were her favorite. Like every grandkid, we often get into conversations and arguments about who was grandma's favorite grandchild because we all felt that way. And I think it's just a huge testament to the fact that you always make someone feel something when they're around you. And she made a very conscious effort to make sure that she made you feel like the most important person around when you were there. So that has been very impressionable to me that I am always very cognizant when I'm around people. How am I making them feel?
Yeah, that's a very good one.
Yeah.
She was very good with me and my kids too. Um, a little story that most people don't know about your grandmother, I think, is that when I first met her, it's either the first or second time. It had to have been the second time because I was going to talk to her about marrying you, I believe. And she gave me her blessing before I could even ask her. She said something to the fact, "Now you go ahead and you make an honest woman out of her. She deserves a good man." Something. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in that vicinity.
She probably said it just like that. Grandma didn't beat around the bush when it came to that
No,
stuff.
she wasn't
Like,
like
I
that
know
like
you
that.
two are living together already. And those are the things that we loved about her because she would just say it. And everyone respected her for being who she was like that. Very good. What's your question?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me all of yours.
No,
Oh,
we were going to switch.
okay. Well, my first question is if you were stuck on a desert island
Hmm.
with one family member, but it can't be me, who would that be?
Aisley.
Why?
Because I have the most incredible relationship with my daughter. And she's very helpful. So that would be important on a desert island. And I can sit and talk to her forever. And we just never run out of things to talk about. And so if we were stuck and I had to sit and talk to somebody forever, it would be her. And I don't choose my son for that because he doesn't like to talk. So I would go crazy. I have a whole conversation with him and I'm just talking
I
to myself.
I would love to watch. I would love to watch you two try to start a fire.
Me and Ainsley?
Yeah.
I don't know how to start a fire.
Do
I
you?
grew up in Wyoming.
Without
Find
without
some
matches?
flint.
No,
There's
without
gotta be some old arrowhead somewhere.
it's not a whole lot of flint on desert islands, but
There might be.
you have to start with sticks.
Then we're screwed.
Okay, what's your next? What else you got?
Who would you want to be on a desert island with?
With any family member?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd take my one of my brothers for sure because we're all Eagle Scouts, so that's an obvious answer.
Notice the difference there between the male and female. I want to have a good conversation, and he's concerned about his fire.
Survival. That's the point. And we all have knowledge on how to survive.
This is why there's such different perspectives that we need to respect about each other.
I'd even take my brother-in-law Warren. He
knows how.
He grew up in Wyoming too.
Yeah. So odd. In a smaller town than me. Okay. That's a good one. So it's a gorgeous May afternoon, and you're sitting on the patio having a Tito's and soda. It's like 80 degrees. It's beautiful outside. Mm-hmm. What historical figure is having a cocktail with you, and what are you talking about?
Historical figure?
Yeah.
Ooh. Historical figure. I think that it would probably be. I'd be fascinated to have anybody in history.
It's a historical figure.
I'd probably take. Oh.
History buff. So this is a big one for him.
You know, I'd take like an Alexander the Great, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I know that's your next question. Because that guy had planned and engineered a vast empire that has never been done before or after since. And I would love to hear the knowledge in the stories that he would have had. So probably that. I know that's kind of like an obscure person, but historically, I don't know that anybody matches what that guy did. He pretty much conquered the world.
Yeah. So you want to know how to do that?
No, I don't need to conquer the world, but he pretty much went to every land and acquired resources and knowledge from everybody, everywhere.
He obviously had some good leadership skills.
Excellent leadership skills.
People bought in.
For sure.
That would be interesting.
Who would be your historical figure?
I don't know. I should have thought about this. Oh. I don't know. I really don't know. Historical figure. I'm going to need to read up on my history is what I'm going to need to do. I think maybe not necessarily someone exactly, but I would love to hear the stories of women who used to reign in kingdoms long before that was the norm for women to do those things. And what adversaries they had, things that they had to overcome, and how they actually were like got the throne. So it would be like, a panel of queen bees. I think it would be very interesting because I think it's like in today's world, like let's say in the United States, for example, the fact that there has not been a woman president blows my mind. There were women ruling huge kingdoms hundreds, thousands of years ago. why is this still something that doesn't exist here? And it's something that's like, it's still a first for women, which I find very interesting. So I would like to know. Maybe we could learn something so some woman could become president someday. Will come president
So would you
someday.
like Cleopatra,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Not Queen Elizabeth.
Not Queen Elizabeth.
That's just like you were born in a family situation. But something that is very cool about her that I did learn about Queen Elizabeth is like she never really spoke out a whole lot about anything. Like she had the most servant heart ever. And to think like she was in the same role for so like her whole life. Like that's what she was expected to do and she always so graciously handled that. Never complained about it, didn't do any of that stuff. So I think that's very cool. I think a lot of times when we're serving, we want that validation or recognition that we served someone. So it's cool to see people do that without needing the praise and belly aching about it.
Belly aching.
Belly aching.
Is it my turn for a
No,
question?
it's your turn.
All right. Would you rather be able to speak any language or rather be able to speak to animals?
Ooh, speak to animals.
Why?
Because I often wonder what Jax is thinking. And Jake tries to tell me in a Jax voice every time I'm talking to him. When I say, "How's your day, buddy?" And then somewhere from the kitchen it says, "It was good. How's your day?"
Yeah, I promise you, he does communicate. But sometimes
He does.
when I ask
feel
him
like
questions,
I can talk to him.
when I ask him questions, a yes or no question, often he will nod. I'm not kidding.
He does. And he doesn't leave. He doesn't leave my feet when I'm sitting in here. This is Jax. Say hi, Jax. Say hello. See? He's very interested.
Let's try it. Jax, do you understand what I'm saying?
Mom, put me down.
He's gonna play dumb.
Definitely animals, because I think animals try to communicate with us anyways. So now I just really want to know what they say.
So that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you could like if you ever got into trouble, you could rise the masses of animals to help you out,
Yep.
like Tarzan or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be
What
pretty
would
good.
you rather?
I probably animals also
Yeah.
because you could talk to if you can talk to like whales and stuff.
Yeah. I could use that in my
Elephants.
everyday life. I don't necessarily need to know a different language every day, but I could talk to my dogs every day.
Oh,
They're
so
my
you're not even thinking about all the great benefits. You just want to be able to communicate to your dogs.
Yeah. And the guineas. The guinea pigs upstairs are little weird creatures too.
Here I am thinking
And
about
I think that
how that would serve me like
no. Very short sighted.
monetarily.
No. See, but if I could speak to them, then you could say, I will interpret what your dog is trying to say to you. And people would line up around the block to understand what that dog was saying to them. People love their dogs. But I think those guinea pigs upstairs have more secrets than anyone.
It'd be bigger than Caesar Milan.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my third question. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of life advice, what would you tell him?
Don't do dumb shit.
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's what Jocko said on his podcast the other day.
I know.
I think if I was going to go back and give myself in all seriousness, the advice that I would go back and give myself would be the financial advice that I know now and understand now about education and how the financial system actually works. I think that was albeit that my father tried to instill those principles into me. Sometimes as an 18-year-old, you don't listen to the best interest of what people that have been through it have to say. I would go and shake that information into my 18-year-old self. That's what I would say.
What benefit would that give you today?
I think that well, the benefit is that there was a lot of time that I feel like I not wasted, but I chased or went in the wrong direction, uh, or went in a direction without knowing where I was really going. And so I think that would have given me focus as to what I should be doing. But there was a severe deficit of information of what I should be doing, I think.
Well, the cool thing that I know about that is now that is something that you were very passionate about telling your children. So
Yes.
that's a very cool thing because it's a decision that you made to change things for your family. And now your kids will be able to have what you wish you would have had.
Planting the seeds already. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they think it's like the story I was telling you the other day about. I remember vividly my father taking me to open up my first savings account, and how I think I was making like 3% interest in that savings account. And he had the discussion with me about how by the time I was in my 40s, that I'd be a multimillionaire if I continued to put money into that account and save that account. Well, as it so happened, since the 80s when I opened up that account to now, they eliminated interest rates, all but eliminated interest rates in savings accounts. But now they're bringing them back because of the current economy, and so it's an interesting topic now because they haven't done a simple thing like that since the 80s. So it's weird information like that that I didn't appreciate then as a kid, but I definitely appreciate now. What about you?
Good one.
What's one thing that you would go back and tell your 18-year-old self?
Trust your gut. Because a lot of times you feel something in your gut that you know is not right, or you stay silent about for way too long, that you should have said something about or made a different move on. And I say that because many times we feel that in our gut, this pit in your stomach. Your stomach and your brain are very aligned and correlated with each other. Many times, though, we start overthinking and putting a story behind it of how someone will feel about us if we make that gut decision that we feel like we should. And that bit of advice would have built a lot more trust for me within myself because I had a very hard time in my 20s really trusting myself about anything. And a lot of times it's because I felt something and I did what I felt somebody else wanted me to do instead of what felt good to me. So that is something that I try to talk to my girls about all the time in letting them know, you need to trust yourself first before you ever put any weight or a story behind something that's happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. Very insightful.
Yeah.
You ready for my? Are we on question number 3?
Yeah.
Do you want a hard one or an easy one?
You have more questions?
I have a list of questions. I'm prepared. Okay, let's see how she
Follow directions.
let's see how she does with this one. Tell me one thing. What is one thing that you've never told me?
Oh, you're gonna make me do that on this?
Curveball. Yeah. Isn't this podcast about being real?
It is about being real. That's some thinking time there. That is some thinking time there. One thing that I haven't told you.
Mhm.
Hmm. I don't know if I can answer that question
Because
because I don't know what to tell you. I feel like you and I have very open conversations about things. We've went to some very dark places with each other.
Mhm.
And I think that that's definitely been the reason why this relationship has been so incredible in my life is because I've had that trust and ability to do that. Because I didn't trust myself or anybody else for a very, very, very long time. Probably most of the time until I met Jake. Because I had a lot of stories around the fact as to why I couldn't trust people, which I find so interesting because I was having a conversation with a lady named Lynn this morning, and we were talking about how we inadvertently put things on our kids based upon what our experience was with things.
Mhm.
Um, and that is very true. I think with all the personal development we've worked on within Tony Robbins' organization this last year, we've realized how much we've done stuff like that with our kids. Not necessarily meaning to put that on them, but telling them stories around it that makes them start thinking that way that we did when we were kids. So that was very interesting. Um, I don't know. Don't have an answer for that one.
Think about it. We'll wait.
I'll get back to you.
In the meantime, I have another question for you, since you can't answer that one.
Okay.
Because I figured you might answer that question with that.
Okay.
So I had a follow-up question. Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Is it terrible that the first person that popped in my head was Lindsay Lohan?
Was it terrible?
It did. That's the first person that popped up in my head. Oh, I don't know why.
I guess it's Lindsay Lohan.
I'm gonna go with that because that's the first thing I thought about. I don't know. She's kind of a train wreck. I kind of feel like most of my life has been a lot of trial and error in figuring out shit. So, yeah, I don't know. I always liked her very much when I was a kid as an actress, and she's definitely went through her phase of things. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Who would play you?
Who do I want to play me? Or who would I think would
You asked the question.
most likely
Answer
resemble?
it how you asked it.
I
Well,
think
Lindsay Lohan doesn't look anything like me, so
I think uh, somebody. Well, I would like Matthew McConaughey to play me in that
oh,
movie, but I don't have a Texas accent in real life, so I would have to divert to I don't know, like see. I think my life. I would like it to a documentary about my life would be like a comedic thing. So I'd
yeah.
probably go with like a. Um, Seth Rogen is like one of the first ones that comes to mind.
Seth Rogen. Yeah, I could see that.
But I don't smoke all the marijuana that he smokes. So that might be
It's the beard.
that might be different.
That's funny. Seth Rogen. He's a good one.
I know. I got it. Bert Kreischer.
Oh
Say Bert Kreischer.
no! See, I couldn't be married to Bert Kreischer. His poor wife. The stories he tells.
They're legendary.
I might smother him with a pillow.
They're legendary. Great
She's
stories.
a saint. She's a saint.
And he's got a beard.
He does. He does have a beard.
He doesn't do any movies yet.
He will. He will. He will. Do you have any other burning questions that you want to talk about here?
Yes.
What's that?
Oh, are you out of your questions?
I was going to ask you. We work together, and I wanted to ask you the question. What is your favorite thing about working together, and what is your least favorite thing about working together?
The My favorite thing about working together is building something with each other. I think that is what a lot of people miss in relationships is we often go to two different jobs, or somebody goes to work and the other person is at home, or something of that nature, depending on everybody's situation. But I like the ability and the flexibility to build businesses or empires with you, if you will. The and work on that together, because it gives us a common goal and a structure of a major accomplishment that we're trying to attain.
Mm-hmm.
I think the least what I like least about working with you,
Mm-hmm.
I love every minute, every day. I guess that you don't agree with all of my brilliant ideas, but are always right. No, I think the communication is can when you work with each other and live with each other every day, which we knew going into it, is going to be challenging. I think that's just kind of I think that's probably what I the only thing that I would say is a struggle. But I think that's a struggle no matter who you work with, though. If you're around people every day, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. Some days we're laughing, some days we're having a great day, some days we feel very accomplished and we're telling each other about the great things that we've done or helped out with, and other some days it's
The opposite.
the opposite, friction.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing with the friction part is what we do with that friction, which
Yeah.
is also an accomplishment, because there are many times that when we've had disagreements in our business life, that we come to a resolution. I can't remember anything that we haven't gotten past or that we got stuck on and we couldn't find an answer for.
Mm.
Do you?
No.
With the exception that we need a side by side with priority pumping written across the side.
I have zero problems investing in that, by the way.
Oh, well, in that case,
You
then
know,
we agree.
sometimes it
Then
just
we
pays
agree
to
on everything.
ask. It just needs to ask. It does. I enjoy working with you because I know that I always have a backup. Sometimes when you are the owner of a business or you're running this business, you feel it can be a lonely place to be at. So it's been very important to me that my husband is my number one support at work as well. So that means the world to me. When things get shitty and I need some help or I'm struggling with something, he always steps in to help out with that. So I appreciate that very much.
And now, what do you like least about working with me?
And sometimes
Nothing. She means nothing.
men
Whatever.
don't like to communicate very well or at all.
What?
So
I
it's learning to use our communication systems so that we know what's happening.
sometimes she has to tell me, use your words.
Or he says, "Well, I told you the other day,
Yeah.
while I'm cooking dinner
I did.
about something that he needs done at work. That if it's not in Slack, it didn't happen." That's how I run my stuff.
That
Because
goes back to
I have to refer back to it because I have too much on my brain all the time. Kind of like this. I've decided today, I told Lynn M that this is what my brain looks like on a daily basis, is this picture on the back of my wall back here. It's just all the time. So
that's not a mosaic, but
No, it's
Kind of
just
fun.
when I was sitting there, it looked like it was coming out of the back of my head, and I was like, "Oh, that's too ironic there."
So you don't think that we communicate
I think it's getting
perfectly?
better. I think it's getting better. I don't think anyone ever communicates perfectly, and if you think you're
I
going
do.
to, you're setting yourself up for some major,
I
major letdown.
I definitely communicate perfectly. I'm just waiting for
Mhm.
the reciprocation.
Uh-huh. TBD on that.
I'm just kidding, but in case you have any audience members that think I'm serious about it.
No. Um, so thank you for sharing the screen with me today
I have one more question for
and
you.
asking questions. What's your question?
If you were invisible for one day, what would you do? One day, 24 hours
If I was invisible?
for one day.
There's so many things. I'm like, this sounds so stupid, but I'd sit right here and no one would bug me all day because no one would be able to see me.
You're such a liar.
That would be awesome, though. That would be awesome.
I think
I would discover where they are planting money trees and I would steal one for everyone that I love.
money trees.
Yeah. And build like a big garden of giving to people with money trees.
Like
Like,
what money tree?
I don't know. If I'm invisible, I can imagine that there's a money tree. Right? What would you do if you were invisible?
I would sit in. We didn't have the restriction of time of traveling. Also, I could be anywhere
Yeah.
invisible for one day, or if I could plan it to be somewhere invisible for one day, probably want to sit in the president's office and listen to the conversations that he has.
Really? How come?
Because I want to know what's happening.
What's real
The
and what's
what's
not
really
real?
happening. Are aliens real?
You wouldn't go to Area 51 and check it out for yourself?
Well, that might be one of the things that I would do. So,
I know
I
that's
mean,
the question you're contemplating lately.
I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I would just like to know what they know that they're not. Just to know.
I don't want to know any of that stuff because it's scary. That scares me. Sometimes as far as presidential issues, I think ignorance is bliss and it's beautiful. I care to focus on the things that I can manage, which is how and where we're raising 5 good new individuals.
Yeah.
Because that stuff scares me. Because I'm sure they know lots of scary things. That's why the president goes gray really fast after he goes into office. Because he's scared about all the news he hears in his office. You think?
That's what I would like to find out.
Okay.
That's why I want to sit and listen to those conversations.
Would you keep that information to yourself or would you share it with people?
You see, I think that's the problem. I don't think you can go out and share. Like, who's going to believe you? I was invisible for a day, sat in the president's office, and this is exactly. And I also found out who killed JFK.
Oh, people would like to know that.
Yeah. It was the driver, by the way. The driver.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting, interesting. Well, thank you for sharing the screen with me today.
Thank you. Invite me back anytime.
This has been fun. So
Sorry,
everybody can get to know us and
sorry, I'm
get
not
to
a
know
lady
you.
kicking ass.
Yes, but my question for you,
Oh, you have another one.
closing of
Oh.
this podcast, is the same thing that I ask everyone. And I think this is very interesting to get my husband's perspective on this. What does the phrase ladies kicking ass mean to you?
I think that the phrase "ladies kicking ass" is women that go out and get their own um, or take their future on their what is the how can I phrase this? Um, I think ownership of your own life is very important. I think there's a lot of people, women and men, that don't take full ownership of their life and depend on other people
Mm-hmm.
to make things happen for them or be dependent on somebody else. And so I value that women anywhere would go out and uh, create their own life and be able to manifest their own uh, future and do great things with that, with their not just their professional life, but their personal life, their own personal growth. I think that's what ladies kicking ass is.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next time, if you guys think of some good questions that you want us to ask each other, send them in through Instagram and we'll record another one of these. Or if this is something that you found valuable and you want to go home and watch this with your husband or write down the questions, everything will be in the show notes of what we asked each other. So you can have those and you can understand a little bit better about your partner or even your kids if you don't have one.
Or if you want to know what questions to ask your husbands or significant others, you can reach out to me and I will find some good questions for you. Such as, would you rather have a frog head or frog legs?
Legs. We're gonna leave it at that.